Yeah, so it's a bit crazy actually because in practice, Katakuri should just be free, really, meaning that I should never lose to it unless something bad happens. Something bad happened.
Hey everyone, I'm joined by AceTCG off the back of a NoHeroes Treasure Cup win. I think he got top 8 in that one.
Yeah, 8th place. Yeah.
And we've spoken a few times about this, and you have made top cut a couple of times, but I think 8th place is your highest win so far, right?
Yeah, for One Piece it is. Yeah.
For One Piece, so where have you kind of topped? What have you done competitively beforehand with One Piece then?
Yeah, so for One Piece specifically, I topped in Utrecht for the European Championship, but I've also played so many other card games where I've topped. I've been to Worlds for different card games before, so but yeah, excited because One Piece is my main TCG right now, and getting a top 8 is always the dream, right? Is what you game for.
Highest finish so far, and it feels like a new pinnacle for you. Obviously, it's going to be motivating to see that progress. Could you talk me through when you realized and you saw the confirmation, because I know it's a little bit delayed, you got the input through, seeing the 8th place and having it materialize at the end and being another stepping stone to maybe a first place, maybe winning the second place, getting to that finals. How does it feel to have that next step unlocked, so to speak?
Yeah, so if you know me, I'm quite a cynical person. So throughout the day, I was updating my friends, and I'll be I'm XO, I'm 6-0, and so on and so on. And I'll always say, but you don't know what can happen, because there's been so many times where I've been 8-0 and then lost the last 3 rounds, and that's painful. So I think because of that, a lot of excitement builds the closer and closer I get towards that, and the judges had said that it was we wouldn't find out until the final standings until a day. So I did check my phone every 5 minutes, and I was it'd be nice to know. The initial pairing standings had said I'd come in 8th place, but there were a total of 10 people who'd went X1 or higher, so anything could happen. So I was anxious, especially because for getting top 8, you get the additional prizing of a Kaido, which is a large amount of the money that comes from the prizing of treasure cups currently.
Yeah, I mean, if you're from the outside, if you're not really into One Piece, you kind of say, oh, he's just won a card. But these cards are 4-digit cards in the most part, so that's a sizable amount of change for a Saturday of sitting in your bedroom in front of a PC, playing was it 10 hours, 12 hours of One Piece?
Yeah, about 10 hours. But I think there's more than that to it as well. It's I practice a lot. I'm on the competitive ranked sim all of the time. So when you say what does top 8 mean to me, it's kind of recognition to myself as well. So I'm putting all of these hours in, and as nice as getting a top 32 is, it's not the results that I'm looking for, but a top 8 definitely is. It's a shame I'm not getting a serial for it, but at the end of the day, the cards look really nice, and I'm proud of myself.
Yeah, you should be, and I think the serialized, there's a lot of just regionals, right? So that's the difference in prize pool between Treasure Cup and regionals that come on. And another difference I want to kind of touch on is, obviously in One Piece, we're blessed with online and offline competition. Knowing that you're going into an online, do you have to prepare for that differently as you would do for an offline event, or are they quite similar?
Yeah, so I prepare. I don't know if the preparation is different, but I'll say the way I play is slightly different in that I have to take my time to explain what I'm doing a little bit more. I have to be a lot more vocal, specifically because of that barrier of my opponent isn't here, my opponent can't see my stuff, so I have to be prepared to say I'm playing Tashigi and then Tashigi effect for top 5. Whereas in person, I would just say Tashigi effect, start looking at the top 5. If they have any, then they can interrupt me. But it's a lot more difficult online, especially with all of the cheating that's going on right now. So I think I'm a little bit more cautious. And I think I have to pay a lot more attention to what my opponent's doing on online tournaments, because I think it's a lot easier for them to slip a card from under the table, for example, or do a little bit of sleight of hand and do a little cheating.
Yeah, they need to figure out who's got magical backgrounds and start banning them from tournaments who do sleight of hand. It's just ridiculous, some of the examples we've seen, but I can't think of any high profile events that kind of came out of NoHeroes with the cheating. I think it's kind of been clamped down on really quickly this time around, and didn't hear any major high profile cases coming out of that one. Obviously we're in mid-set right now. ST13 came out a couple of weeks ago, so Black Yellow Luffy came out and has seen a little bit of play. I know you had 2 matchups against them. How do you prepare for a new deck coming in halfway through the set and kind of changing things a little bit?
Yeah, so it's going to be a very boring answer, which is practice, right? It may seem simple, but without it, I think you will lose the black-yellow matchup. I played Saka for the tournament, and I think it's very easy to play into their strengths. It took us think maybe 12, 13 games before we realized that I really just should never attack with my leader. Like, leave them on the 4 life, let them self-damage themselves, never attack unless you need to, only attack with leader when their leader's 7k so that the attack isn't going to go through, and then go for game when you have a strong board. It puts them at a huge disadvantage. But to your question of, like, for example, EV's coming out now, so there are some decks that are shifting up here, like we're going to see some more red RP lore. It really just comes down to, again, practice, understanding what that deck wants to achieve, and understanding what your deck struggles against, and what the worst case scenario is for you when you're playing against it. For example, for Black Yellow Luffy, if they go down to 2 life and then they see a lot of the Rush Ace, that can put me under a lot of pressure because I only run 8 2Ks in the Saka deck. And similar with the RP lore, if they get the new Kid and Killer, if they get all of their rush cards, that's painful. So you have to play to your best hand possible and understand the matchup very, very well. So many hours of practice. Yeah.
I think over the course of like your Saka deck, I think at the local level, one card that I've seen kind of pick up speed over the course of the set is the Navy HQ. More people seem to have adopted it. Just wondering if you can like answer 2 questions about that for me. First of all, to bring the Navy HQ deck in, what did you need to cut from your deck, or what did you need to change about it? And secondly, like, how important is that card to your deck and how you pilot Sakazuki?
Yeah, so it's a very good card, right? It's a consistent way to be able to reduce 1, and because your leader ability also reduces 1 at a turn, it's guaranteed 2 reduction a turn. You had to cut Great Eruption and Ice Age from most of your lists, but I will say going forward, I don't know if I'll be sticking to the stage build, especially when EB comes out, more specifically because of the popularity of Black Yellow Luffy. I think the matchup is okay for Sakazuki, but I think only being able to reduce 2 consistently isn't as good as it is right now. I think the reason the stage is so good right now is because Sakazuki has a lot of 4-cost characters, Gecko Moria is only 4-cost characters, so having a consistent -2 reduction is all you'll ever need, whereas in the future, Black Yellow Luffy runs an abundance of 5-cost characters, right? So being able to have access to the Great Eruption before it's banned means that you'll have 3 reduction instead of the 2, which may become more relevant going forward, but it'll completely depend on how the meta shapes out, right?
Like, another thing that surprised me about the meta that we saw yesterday in the matchup was the fact that we had 2 X1 Yamatos go that late in the game. Like, sometimes it can happen. What surprised me even more is it seemed there was 2 separate archetypes. So you had definitely the Fortress version, and you had, I don't know, was it Sky Island, Wano, would you say on that one?
I think vanilla, like, it was just good stuff. Yamato is how I describe it usually. I think we're going to see more of those mixes going forward. I think Yamato has similar potential as like Katakuri does, where it has the casino element that Yellow has, but also it's a really large amount of pressure coming out, right? Especially with these Black Yellows seeping in a little bit with the start deck coming out. They push themselves to low life. That's a big advantage to you because obviously you're putting a lot of pressure on.
And how early in that matchup, but in both the Yamato matchups, do you tend to spot what flavor of Yamato is being ran? Like, do you get a good read like turn 1, turn 2? Like, how quick can you kind of go, this is how this matchup's going to play out?
Yeah, so it's difficult because of that. A lot of the time, and if you're fortunate, you'll know by turn 1 because you'll see the Bonnie come out. Or sometimes they run Momo. So you'll see that come out, and then I can change my mindset. I think we'll see a lot more Fortress going forward because of the Zoro just being able to be removed by less cards in the format. That's the 9-cost Zoro from OP06, the one that triple attacks. And I think that's just a really, really good win con against a lot of the top decks. So I see it coming, but I do think it still struggles against the Saka. So yeah, look out for early signs of it. I'm always cautious when I play against Yamato anyway, and I don't awfully play aggressive against them. So I think that pays off when you're playing Sakazuki, but I think it's a bit more difficult in the other decks when you're playing.
And you mentioned them already, so I do have to bring it up. The only loss you suffered yesterday was the Katakuri. Can you walk me through what happened in that matchup? What didn't you see? What did they do right? What went right for the other player to give you the 1 on your 9-1 record?
Yeah, so it's a bit crazy actually because in practice, Katakuri should just be free, really, meaning that I should never lose to it unless something bad happens. Something bad happened. I run 3 Kuzan, the 4-cost, to be able to reduce, and as long as I go down to 3 life, there's no way for them to be able to remove it unless they use the reject, which they never want to do. So as long as I see one of them, it's my game. As long as I see Rebecca and Sabo, it's my game. As long as I see Moria, it's my game. I should never lose those. I didn't see any of those. My starting hand, I did see Moria actually. My starting hand was 2 Morias and a 7-cost Borsalino, no blockers, and only 2Ks from then on, so no Kuzan either.
You only won run of the 7-cost Borsalinos in your deck as well, so you just got like dead-handed out of everything you possibly could have got.
Yeah, so I mulliganed because my starting hand was 4 2Ks and a Helmepo, which is not ideal in the matchup. So yeah, it's not ideal. And then I attacked a lot, and I think they got 2 or 3 triggers straight off the bat as well, which is not ideal. So, but yeah, we move. I wasn't salty in the moment. I treat people with respect, and the person played the deck well, and that's exactly what they want to happen, right? They knew that if they were ever going to win, they have to play super aggressive against Sakazuki, and they lent into that. It was like round 6, and yeah, they took the win. So no frustration there. I just wish I'd seen Kuzans.
And I mean, the good thing was it definitely didn't knock yourself in a day, because like I said, it happened in kind of round 6, middle of the run, and then it was just wins clear on out, ended on a Sakazuki Mirror. Your only Saka Mirror of the day came in the final round. When the leader gets flipped over, or when you reveal and you see the Mirror matchup, how confident are you into the Mirror when it comes to a Saka versus Saka matchup?
Yeah, so it all comes down to a dice roll, which is scary, right? You can win going first. I'm not saying that you have to go second, but it definitely helps. As many Saka players are, I'm probably more confident going second in the matchup. But I've played going first enough to know when I want my opponents to do things, and I think that's what helps when you're practicing, is by practicing so much and going first and going second, you learn what your opponent doesn't want you to do on specific turns. So I think I won that game because I knew that my opponent wouldn't want to play Gecko Moria on their 9-dawn turn unless they had multiple of them, because they wouldn't be able to answer my board like efficiently because they didn't have a Lucci in the trash. So I forced out by playing big bodies, removing their things, attacking aggressively so that they kind of have a boot on their neck and then they'll never be able to recover, and I just kept up that momentum. And of course, I drew more Gecko Morias than they did, so I won the game.
Ace, thanks so much for stopping by for an interview. Got one last question for you. What's the next tournament or next competitive level event you're going to attend, and is it going to be in this set still in 06?
Yeah, so the last OP06 tournament for the UK is in Salford. It's 2 side events next week. They're for the Eustace kids, the ones that you get for top 64, I think it is. But I also have Birmingham in a few months and Milan in July as well. So it'll be exciting, and hopefully I can get some more top 8s.
Yeah, wishing you all the best. Thanks so much.
Thank you.